Uh-oh. What if ICE agents at the airport is working? Yeah, there were some apprehensions, of course, with illegals. I get that. But for the most part, you saw a lot of travelers because this is still the spring break season, incredibly busy time, and things were better at major airports. So much so that CNN even had to admit it because they couldn't hide the camera of the lines were completely different than yesterday. What if this was a good idea? And all of a sudden, in the future, they keep ICE agents at airports and they help ease the job that TSA agents have to do, and everybody's experience was better. I don't know if they got smart enough to go to that extreme, but all I know is this week, to ease the congestion because they refuse to provide funding for these TSA agents and their paychecks, it's a good result. We'll talk about that as well and where it goes from here. And we got a Senator Chris Murphy, in fact, who said the quiet part out loud, the part they never wanted to fully admit in the way he said it. Who is prioritized? Who is the priority? Now, this is one of those cases where you always knew it. You always knew. Why was there an open border for 4.5 years? Why? You know why. And he just admitted it. And we're going to wrap this up by trying to do a deep dive into what the F is going on with Tucker Carlson. Now, this week and last week, actually the week before, we've seen all the grifters and the people who have claimed to be America first and, Trump's nothing without us and, all the grifting podcasters, all the same. Tucker's a special case. I think we're watching in real time somebody losing his mind. I really believe that. It's sad. I don't know what's going on with him, but he's not stopping anytime soon. He has completely gone off the deep end with what he's saying now. Anyway, we'll get to that too. Thanks for finding the Wicked Radio live stream. It's not just the news. It's not just me reacting to it. It's what to do about it. The live stream on X and YouTube and Facebook, replay on there, and then the audio podcast shortly thereafter. Let's get right to it. What's going on at the airports? When CNN has to show a video and a reporter, the same guy who's been at Atlanta Hartsfield International Airport with the crowds all week long and the madness and people fighting and all the other stuff, they have to go to the same guy. They have to. Otherwise, even their viewers would say, what's going on? Why are you hiding this story? They had to admit that ICE agents on the ground in the airports is working.
Agents there, what have you been seeing them doing?
Yep. Finally, we can take a deep breath here. The numbers have dropped off. The lines are getting shorter. I think the average wait time now is under 40 minutes. So if you have a flight to catch today, it's a good time to come to Hartsfield-Jackson International. Talking about those ICE agents, you can see a few behind me right there. And then I'm going to walk you this direction, and you can see some more of them gathered over here. This is what they've been doing for the most part today, is doing the patrols around the airport, talking and gathering, not really helping the public in the sense of they're not taking tickets from anybody. They're not interacting with the public we've seen so far. They're not checking anyone's ID at the TSA.
I don't think that was the story they were hoping for, but they go to the guy for a live shot, and they're like, well, it's kind of fine here. Let's walk over here. It's like, you know what they wanted? They wanted madness. They wanted protests. They wanted people getting arrested and thrown to the ground. There was a little bit of that. You're talking about airports throughout the country. But overall, smooth and working. Now, that was Atlanta, which has been probably the worst. I mean, Detroit was bad. New York was bad, obviously. Houston was a mess. But let's go to another airport in another part. Let's see if this is a consistent story, if the airports were better with ICE helping out.
And the wait line looks like this. In the couple of hours that I've been here, I've seen ICE officers patrolling, and the line has looked the same since I got here. Completely empty. So if you see wait times go down while you're traveling, you may just want to thank an ICE officer. Earlier.
Okay, now, played that for a reason. The young junior reporter there who seemed like she was about 12, but that was Florida Voice News, but she was at Southwest Florida Airport, the Fort Myers area. Again, I get it. Not exactly a hotbed of travel around noontime on a Monday, but still proves the point. They had problems there too. And she makes a good point. You might want to thank an ICE officer next time you do it, because you're not told this story in the news. You're not told how many times people will actually thank ICE officers. In the city streets, it happened at airports yesterday, you only see the protesters. But I bet you're going to see it a lot more. Here's another shot.
As long as they don't bother anybody, I'm okay. I was concerned about people. So they're not bothering us. Let's get it done.
I like that they're here. I think that it's allowing us to move and get to where we need to go.
It's kind of scary in a sense because you don't know what to expect with ICE.
As long as they can help us move a little bit faster, maybe they can take some of the work off the TSA agents as far as, general security. I'm all for it.
This comes after days of people waiting up to 5 hours in security lines wrapped.
How How about that? You mean the people aren't outraged by it? They're not mad about this. People just want to get on with their lives and live their lives, obviously. That's all you're worried about when you're in an airport. Think about the last time you were running a little bit late, a little bit behind for a flight, and you were trying to get there. What are you worried about? Well, what are the long-term political implications of ICE agents at the airport? No. You want to get through security and get to your place on time, and you want a calm, safe environment, right? And a safe flight, obviously. Well, that's all people were asking for, and that's why this is working. This is probably the best PR move ICE has ever had. And I will tell you this, too. Maybe you're not a Trump fan. Maybe you don't like Trump. Maybe you never voted for him. You got to put that aside and understand something. This move, and it was his idea to put ICE agents, unmasked, by the way, at airports. This was one of the smartest political moves I've ever seen in my life. Probably you too, and maybe nothing will top this. Don't underestimate how important and what a smart move this was. Because first of all, for the most part, for people who have only heard on the news and CNN yelling at them how these ICE agents are Nazis and they're killing people and they're going to shoot people, which, by the way, some politicians had said, they're going to shoot people at airports. And then they see them in action. You know, they're not in the inner city, most of these travelers. They finally get a close interaction with ICE agents and they say, hold on a minute. They're actually pretty cool dudes and women. And they're getting me to my flight on time. And they calmed down this situation at the airport I was worried about. This was absolutely, completely brilliant. But that doesn't mean there weren't the same idiots telling them that they go home, nobody wants you, this and that, whatever. Because this was, again, we're going back to Atlanta Airport. This was outside one of the gate areas.
Donald Trump, let's be clear! Donald Trump, let's be clear! Immigrants are welcome here!
And what do I always tell you guys? Pre-printed, organized signs, same chance, same signs, same people as many of the other protests, inorganic, paid for, not reflective of how average Americans feel. And what you should do about this, if you encounter that at your airport, keep on walking, past them, mock them, ignore them, laugh at them, anything you have to do, because those people are absolute losers. Go on with your life, go on your vacation, your spring break, go to see your family, enjoy your flight, enjoy the airport experience. Those people, they don't have that. They don't have what you have. They're losers. They're disruptors. They're paid protesters. It's completely inorganic. It's the same people. I would bet you any amount of money in the world, anything I have right now, anything, that those same people were at a anti-ICE protest, a free Palestine protest, hands-off Venezuela, hands-off Iran protest. That was the one before this. Absolutely, completely ridiculous. And now everybody sees it because it's so obviously fake and inorganic. And that wasn't even that impactful outside of Atlanta's airport. The long-range impact? Here's Tom Homan yesterday. What else can ICE do? What about this idea? What if they're there long-term? Oh, no, they're going to kill people. No, they're not. First of all, we've already seen it in one day. In one day, they made the airports better. And now, what else can they
Trump
do?
made a brilliant move this week, and he called me and says, let's send ICE to the airport. I thought it was a smart move. And we're filling the holes. The wait lines are already dropped. Plus, we're doing a security function at the airports. We're going to arrest criminals going through this airport. We're going to look for human trafficking, sex trafficking, money smuggling. We're going to be at the airports working with our brothers and sisters of TSA. They're our brothers and sisters within DHS. President Trump made a smart move. We're going to keep the airplanes flying. We're going to get the American people to those lines quicker. And we're not going to give up President Trump's promise to American people to make this country safer every day. And that's what we're going to keep doing.
Wouldn't you think that human trafficking is happening at an airport? Wouldn't you think that, like you said, cash, money laundering, smuggling, not laundering, but smuggling is going out of, luggage at the airports? Wouldn't you think that there's a lot of illegals that are actually criminal illegals that are at the airport? Didn't you think, besides the fact that they're helping things move along smoothly, in one day it took, it's even underreported how much better it is. There's still going to be problems. You still have to get TSA agents paid. He said it there, Tom Homan said it there, one of the smartest moves possibly in political history. Not just Trump's administration. This is one of the smartest moves of all time. Look what it does. It gets you and me and everybody else to your destination faster and hopefully safer, obviously. Tom Homan's excited about it because it helps them, round up the criminals that they've been looking after. You don't think they're hiding out at airports? There's a city like Boston that's been hiding illegals right at Logan Airport. You don't think the airport, this is the opportunity they've waited for. And then long range, what does it do for the Democrats' plan? Whoa, we've spent 6 months telling the Americans that ICE is bad and they're murderers and they're Nazis and they're fascists. Uh-oh, all of a sudden, normal Americans see them helping them get to their flights safely and on time. What an absolute, complete, and total backfire this was to decide not to pay them. The TSA agents. Just absolutely unbelievable. Now they have nothing. Absolutely nothing. But how about those criminals Tom Homan was talking about? How about, because if you listen and pay attention to the mainstream media, they're just going to tell you that, ICE agents are just wrapping up, regular Americans. Are they? Are they really? No, they're not. There are people who have overstayed their visas, but much worse than that, and really the main focus is people who are part of illegal gang activity that happen to be illegals that have been in this country and setting up sleeper cells for decades. Decades. They're finally able to bust this up. But now the truth is coming out. And this is one of those acts of desperation where you see people like Senator Chris Murphy. Boy, he dropped a beauty yesterday. This was fantastic. On what is it? MS Now? What is MSNBC? Whatever stupid thing it is. Now, you'll pay attention to the anchor here and the question he asks of Senator Chris Murphy. He did not expect this answer. This is getting replayed. One of the very few political interview clips that is actually going viral. This is what they really mean, and he just admitted.
The negotiation didn't have a path to citizenship. It was entirely on their terms in order to get Ukraine funding, right?
Well, I mean, Chris, that's been a failed play for 20 years. So right. You are right that has been the Democratic strategy for 30 years, maybe, and it has failed to deliver for the people we care about most, the undocumented Americans that are in this country.
The people we care about the most, undocumented Americans, put your own parentheses on that one, illegals who are in this country. He just admitted, he's a high-ranking member of the Democrat Party. He's one of their hopefuls from the state of Connecticut. He's got a lot of power. He just admitted what the priority is. Undocumented Americans, illegals. Why? Their policies are so unpopular. Their strategy is so bad, they can't win elections without them. Now, why would you want to flood a border? Why is the priority illegals? Well, because you taint the census numbers. You have, when you can count them, like in his district in Connecticut, then all of a sudden you got more power. Then you can add more congressional seats. It's all about power. That guy and the rest of them couldn't give a damn about undocumented Americans, what the priority is. They're just numbers to them. To make them legal, give them Social Security numbers, and get them into power forever. That's all it is, and he just admitted it. That might be the biggest. These kinds of things, though, he's usually much smoother than that. But what happened? What would force and work somebody up like Chris Murphy, who's very smooth? He's great in media. He's a great interview. He usually is on his game. What would knock him off his game in an interview like that? On a friendly platform like MS Now? What you saw during the same day at airports. The American people, face to face, many of us for the first time in American airports, dealt with ICE agents personally. And you realized, wait a minute, these aren't the bad guys. Trust me when I tell you, this has thrown the Democrats into a tizzy, like what you just saw there. Speaking of tizzies, I don't know what's going on with Tucker. I have absolutely no idea. With a lot of them. It's not just Tucker. Megyn Kelly. Well, I've said right here, I've sat on this bar stool right here before, and I've told you before that she's one of the best broadcasters that we've ever seen in America. And she is, as far as being a communicator. She is. But she, like Tucker, like all the other ones, the fakers and the grifters and the people that have weaseled into the America First movement. The problem with MAGA and America First and all these principles, it's like any political movement, and it is a movement. You get a lot of ne'er-do-wells. You get a lot of bad people who weasel into it and pretend to be part of it because it's the popular wave right now, right? Because it makes so much sense. Well, they're all getting exposed. Megyn Kelly, I think, just has some bad information. You got these other weasels and podcasters and people who are just, all exposing themselves. And it took the Operation Epic Fury to expose them all. But Tucker's a different story, I think. Now, this is a guy that's been, talk about a great communicator, broadcaster on the air for years. He's fantastic at expressing his message. Here's the problem. I never used to believe that people would actually fall so deep into a bubble that they lost all sense of reality. I never really did. And in Tucker's case, I think the problem is not just he's trying to ride a current wave of what post-MAGA is going to be like and keep your clicks up and all this other stuff. I think he's got sources because he actually did real journalism for so long. I think he's got sources that turned on him and completely melted his brain. And he's not surrounded by enough normal people to say, dude, you're off your rocker on this one. I think somebody like Tucker, very similar to Hollywood celebrities, there's nobody around him that is telling him, look, dude, you're way off on this. Case in point, this interview he did, it might have been taped 2 days ago, but I think it aired yesterday. The long and short of it is he goes out of his way to defend Sharia law and how Western cities are falling apart. In many cases, they are, but the terrorist cells and the terrorist organizations, basically what he's saying is, that's our fault. It's because of colonialism. This doesn't even sound like the same guy, but here's a little sample. It was a big, long interview, but here's a little sample of what he's talking about. I don't know what's going on in his brain, but he's getting some bad information.
And you notice, like in ISIS or Al Qaeda or like the Muslim extremists, they're all from like collapsed, pathetic societies dominated by colonial powers. They've been degraded, and that's why they're so angry. Right? So there's something about being degraded that turns you into a violent nutcase extremist. You're seeing a lot of violent nutcase extremists in our country. Not surprising, because the country's being degraded.
So it's not the ideology. It's not the ideology that you will, serve Allah and get all the, 72 virgins if you commit an act of terrorism. It's not all that. It's Western society's fault. That's why they're so angry. Right. It's not Sharia law, which, by the way, he defended in the same interview. He says it's better. It's more understanding. It's not that. Despite the fact that they treat women like slaves and they, think you can kill Christians because they're infidels. It's none of that. It's us, guys, is basically what Tucker's saying. And I don't know who the interviewer was, another podcast, whatever, but what a sycophant. Listen, you may be excited that you got the interview with Tucker, but to sit there and to listen to that nonsense and go, yeah, that's brilliant. You have to push back. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Not that guy, certainly not anybody in Tucker's personal life. And I don't know if somebody like that has like friends, somebody he hangs out with, has a couple of beers with, goes bowling with, goes to a movie with, a ball game, concert, whatever. Clearly, Tucker doesn't have that because there's no one to push back with some common sense. I think he's so in a bubble that no one is telling him he's off his rocker. And also, like I said, he's got these connections, and he does. This is why he was so far off, and Trump played him like a fiddle with Operation Epic Fury. Remember he had that big meeting with Trump at the Oval Office, and Trump told him for like an hour and a half, Tucker, we're not going to go into Iran. Don't worry about it. We're not going to do it. Tucker ran right to, allegedly, his sources in the Middle East and said, there's no plan. They're not going to invade. Well, surprise, they did. I think he's getting misled by everybody in his life, and that's why seeing that guy melt down, which is a shame because he was a beacon of common sense for the longest time. What he's talking about now is it's just sad. So he's a different case than all of the grifting podcasters who tried to weasel into MAGA and America first, and now they're showing their true colors. But the takeaway is this. This is how you can think about this. It may bum you out because it's like you may love Tucker. Maybe be great. Megyn Kelly, who I've said, one of the best interviewers, one of the best broadcasters of all time. Even she's just like, the crap that she's saying is just very turncoat-like. And all the other ones, maybe your other favorite podcasters. It's okay. Be glad that they're all getting exposed now and not pulling an absolute 180 2 weeks before the midterms, before everybody votes. Be glad now that they're getting exposed. It's a good thing. That's how you can look at that. All right. Thanks for hanging out with me. Appreciate you. As always, the podcast gets thrown out to the audio world and wherever you get your podcast platforms, wherever you like to get them, right after we're done with the live stream and then the replay on X and YouTube and on Facebook. It's not just the news. It's what to do about it. Thanks for hanging out with me. Make it a wicked awesome Tuesday. I'll talk to you tomorrow.